Hello guys, how y'all doing? I'll give it a minute. So I did post a summary of it, so hopefully you guys see it. So I'll kind of repeat some of the stuff. Not a whole lot of new things, but I told him why we're in these shoes. He needs to understand why we're here. So I'll just quickly cover that, and if there's any questions, hopefully I can address them. He didn't share any net new information, so don't be asking if there's any net new information out of it. What I posted is summary of the highlight of the conversation. Everything else is this and that, this and that. It's like, David, this and that doesn't really matter. The fact is, you dilute it, you attract a whole bunch of investors with that 500 and all that. That's why we're here. And then with no updates, diluting to 6 billion. No company did that in a year. And then all the RS follow, and that's how you attract the shorts, and that's how you attract all the hedges against you. Whether it's you're wanting to do it or not, it's just that matter of fact. They're not gonna go after giant like Tesla to short it, which they have few have done it and never really successful in that front. And they need a lot more money. They need not just billion, they need hundreds of billion in order to short Tesla. So they are targeting folks that easier, right, just like us, to other small guys that they'll go after the 100 of them with that small amount of money. So you have to understand the root cause of the problem. The root cause of the problem is your dilution, and you need to come up with why and how we're going to get out of this. And obviously, he didn't have an answer. And hopefully, market turns and the fundamentals, as he said, will change that. But I told him at this point, no other EV manufacturer will turn profit other than Tesla. If you look at all the other manufacturers, including Legacy, their loss per vehicles from 400K to 30K, like Rivian and Ford and so on and so forth. And Dave said, well, for us, we don't really have loss. We actually make money per vehicle because we don't have a debt. I get it, but the point here is, you're about to get delisted. The rest is right around the corner. We need more than just fundamentals. This is not going to work. So I told him, do a buyback, do a no RS, like public coming out saying that you'll vote against the RS, and let it go to OTC if that's really how it plays down. But don't do the dilution or continued dilutions or vote for RS. But obviously, I think I know the answer, and by him, stating some of the questions, right, that I asked, but he wants to remain on Nasdaq. I don't think he will go against the RS in terms of vote, but he thinks he can get to one, and I told him no. Without all those updates, right? ATVM loans to lawsuit update to buybacks to and giving up those performance rewards to all that, and without those and big partnership and production delivery and all that stuff, we're not going to get to one. So you might be dreaming, but you're not going to get to one. So you have to think about something else. But I don't think he has anything else other than what he has planned for, which is the delivery and other things that he didn't really say anything. So that's kind of the high level. of what the conversation is about. It was wrong conversation because he was just repeating some of the histories and stuff like that. So which you all know, and which you don't want to hear it from me for repeating that for an hour here. So that's kind of the high level. So I'll open up a question if there's any questions. No questions? Yeah, just I was responding to what's his name, Van Millen, I think from France. He said he's going to sleep. So I kind of open up for his sake to address any questions he might have, but.
Hey, Chacha, it's Van Mullins.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
question is, when you talk to him about getting to $1, you said it's like dreams where he feels like we will get to $1, but you don't. When obviously we don't see it, so
he hopes. He hopes.
So yeah, so there's nothing that maybe could have kind of given you a hint that maybe there is something up his sleeve, or no?
I mean, it seems like he asked me, right? Do you see us hit dollar by December? And I said no. So why? And I just list those things, right? He said he'll do best. But obviously he didn't really give any concrete evidence of why he thinks we can get to 1. But I told him without all those big deal news, we're not gonna get to 1. The shorts will be shorts, and there's a lot of the swing players will be there to quickly profit on cents or whatever on the green, and they'll repeat those. So without big announcement, you're not gonna able to get any big investors. And he hopes he sees some of those big investors coming in and fight the fight. And I said, it's they're fighting against you, and they're all talking among each other. They're not gonna come in and just go against all the other big institutions or hedges.
Well, many investors can't get in with a low market cap anyhow.
Yeah.
I mean, not even just a share, stock price, but just the
Yeah.
market cap. If we're under 100 million, that excludes so many big institutions. So, yeah, I don't know. I just was wondering if maybe you kind of got a feeling that maybe there's something big up his sleeve, but it sounds like no.
I think he has some news, right? Because I think news will be there, but I don't think the news is something that will be that impactful, right? That's going to change overall sentiment and the drive to $1. I don't think he has that kind of news. But I tried to ask him if you have any updates on ATVM. He said he couldn't really answer that. Can you say yes and no? I was like, yeah, I can't even do that. Only thing he could do is what's available and already announced as the PR. So, which is then RDS, and yes. So seems like he indicating that RDS joint submission has been submitted, because I think date was November 10th, right? That was for Custom Border Protection, I think, agency. So that one was he was kind of according to the PR, just look at our PR. So that's all he said. So that might be but that's still not going to be viable, because just the submission, right? In order to wait for the response will take another up to 45 days, and there's no given that they'll respond in 45 days. And even though they respond, I'm not sure if there's going to be anything that credible, right? Going to change the overall sentiment, and bring up the big investors.
Did you touch on the new lease with him at all, the new building?
Yeah, I touched on him, very very lightly at the end, and he basically said, you know, he can't really reveal anything that's not public information. So yeah, so I think his frustration was why they're attacking us. And so I told him it's dilution. No company in the hell went from a couple 100 million shares to 6 billion share and then do a reverse split, get us, like 92 billion after all that, right? That's why we're here. That's the problem you created. But it's like, well, we needed a funding. Well, you know, but you did a wrong way to fund it. You didn't do a proper job of
He could have
funding.
just
Yeah,
did secondary offering right back onto the market, and retail would have bought it up, and we would have been better off than
yeah,
having toxic lending for sure.
yeah, exactly. And he's like, it's like that's not us. Like that money didn't come to me. It's like, well, indirectly come to you because the lending, right? And that was how the warrants got printed, and that's how these guys are exercising it and driving price down. So, don't say you don't know about this, and don't say the money didn't come to you because it did. So,
All right. Well, I'm still holding out. We'll see what happens. It's either going to be massive gains, as I said earlier, or it's going to be a little bit of a tax write off. So we'll see what happens.
yeah, so a little bit to a lot depends on, some of the guys that invested. So I know some guys invested very very heavy. So AJ,
Hey, thanks. Vin Millions pretty much asked everything that I was going to ask, so
yeah,
I'm just gonna drop back down, man. Thanks, Vin.
all right, no problem. Who's next? Millennials Retail.
What's up, Chacha? So I know you spoke with David about dilution stuff. Has he said anything? Did you ask him any questions about how many warrants were left from the financing deal?
No, I didn't ask. I mean, he did mention that it's almost done, but um, so I don't know how much is left. He was talking about preferred stock and all that stuff, and that's how they're able to get to where we at in terms of buying the LMs and Bollinger and but no, he didn't dive into too much.
Gotcha. And then I know you asked him too about the buyback. Is there any chance that he say anything about him moving up to 10Q possibly and using that buyback to help get above $1?
I mean, I told him you need to buy right now, buy everything, and he obviously didn't come at any of my ask. So those things I summarized, I told him, but he didn't make any comments on what he's going to do or if he has any plans to it.
And then I do have one more question about the reverse split. I'm pretty sure he knows that like we own majority of the company as of now, and so did he? How do I ask this? Could you get a hint if he could tell that he doesn't have the vote for the reverse split?
Um, I I couldn't really feel that, but I think he's for RS because I did ask a question or I did make a statement that I would rather see us going to OTC rather than do another third RS, and he thinks or he wants um, that dollar buy, so kind of that's kind of indication that he doesn't want the OTC. So if it comes down to it, I think he's going to vote for the RS, and that's why I told him and put it in the summary that I told him that please vote for RS if you want to drive the sentiment. Do buyback right now if you want to drive the sentiment, along with all this other news that potentially you know, you can address them if they will by next 3 weeks, and then combination of that, if it all happens within the time frame, then yeah, there's a possibility of get us to one. But if none of that happens, yeah, we have no chances.
And then, do you know a specific date that he would have to move the 10Q up to be able to use the buyback before compliance stuff? Like, did you get into that at all?
No. I think the filing's gonna actually the Q3 of filing should be coming either tomorrow or sometime this week. By traditionally when they file, they usually file their 10Qs on after 45 days, third week of Monday usually, following month. So there's going to be 10Q filing this week, but yeah, no. Other than that, I don't know.
So he didn't say anything about having. I guess my question would be: is all they have to do is move the 10Q up earlier to use the buyback, correct?
Yeah, I think so. But the 10Q is going to happen tomorrow or sometime this week. So
then he can use the buyback tomorrow.
Yeah. After that, yeah.
Okay.
So it can happen any time between that 3 weeks, but he extended to like next year sometime, right? Or middle of or first quarter of next year or something. So I don't know. I don't think he's going to pull all that buyback at once. It seems like.
Got it. Appreciate it, Chacha.
Yeah. Let's see. I've never seen these guys. I don't know. True Ninja is.
Yeah, hi Chacha.
Yeah.
Like if we look on all the reverse splits, and like every reverse split, it's just price is going down dramatically. And if he would and we can look on all other stocks, like if he would cancel reverse split or vote no for reverse split and drop some news, we'll go above dollar easy. Like if he would know, by the history, you can look so many stocks which is vote no for reverse split or canceled. Like it's easy to get above dollar. And I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think that will happen. That's our guess, but I don't think that will happen. I think he knows it. That's why he's not pulling that now, because he thought the EPA news and some of the other stuff, he thought he will get us to dollar. But I told him none of those news or none of the news that you're going to announce from tomorrow till next whatever 3-4 weeks, whatever, is not going to get us dollar unless combine things that I talked about earlier. Unless that happens, you're not gonna fight or able to fight the downward pressure that these guys are putting. Because I've been telling him we're gonna see 10 cents a couple of weeks ago, and I've been texting him almost every day. What's the plan? What's the plan? What's the plan? Because we're gonna see the 10 cents again. Sure did. So I don't think any of those will even matter. It has to be a combination of all those things just mentioned. Will create something big, but other than that, if it's just another news, yeah, it will not.
Just we have time till to get compliance with Nasdaq. Like we have and I know it will be very good earnings for fourth quarter we'll get on January. I bet it will be good news. And if you combine buyback, good news, like revenue, shows the revenue, like we'll go and no reverse split, all this will go above dollar.
So again, end of year news or the revenue, you're not gonna see it until February, right? And then obviously the reverse vote will happen and we will know result by mid-December. Then once that is approved, you're going to see downward again, right? So you don't really have much time. And the Q4 revenues or Q1 revenue next year is not going to matter, because the reverse will happen, and more downward pressures were going to happen. So the only thing again, they need to address is the root cause of the problem, where this is coming from, and he needs to find out, who are these shorts to institutions and the updates, lawsuit updates, and those will be really the catalyst to change direction. Because if not, if they're not able to find those and go after these guys, it's it's the same thing for next year or two, right? Or last year or two that we've been seeing. It's going to repeat itself.
I was thinking also, Chacha, I had another thing. Let's say we make it through to next year. Obviously right now there's no dilution, or no new dilution. The authorized shares, it's still at 5 billion. It was not proportional with the reverse splits. Do you have any idea of what his thoughts are as far as getting funding going forward? When production really ramps up and he's adding on the second and third shifts. Any idea what his feelings are about that?
Yeah, I didn't ask the future funding. I was more focused on next 3 weeks, because next year really won't be matter, right? If we cannot really survive next 3 weeks. So he thinks, he was same thing he was commenting on, and a lot of, I think, other guys texts and responses they got was him referring to Lordstown, to our rival, to other EV companies, that how they have so much high debt to per per vehicle. I think he was giving an example like a Lordstown, and Lordstown bill of material per EV is like 150K, while he's they're selling at 60K for the lower endurance, right? The pickup EV that looked like a Nissan truck. So he was giving an example, and he's saying, "Yeah, us, we are making profit right off of that." And he was very frustrated on why people calling him the scam and Chinese companies and blah blah blah. And he's like, "There's more to it than just that, right?"
Well,
And how homologation they have done is like, hey David, that's just part of the job. I mean, part of the company, right? Or being automotive company, you have to do those things. It's not something you take advantage and you take rewards off of it. It's just way it needs to happen. That's to business continue on. So something that's not a nice to have, that's must have for everybody. So don't be taking a credit on those, right? And because they see the shell, they see the same product, and they don't see all the other things happen. When you're bringing up or importing those vehicles here, because he was saying it's not just the outside. There's other stuff, and safety regulation, all that stuff they have to worry about and they have to go through. So I understand that, but from a retail view, and retail is very upset because the price action, stock price, and no deliveries and all that stuff is compiling together. That's why they calling a scam, right? So if you want to prove yourself and you don't want to hear those, then just deliver and then get the stock price up and be transparent, and just win one by one. You're not gonna win overnight with all these people.
Right. Yeah, I think if the plan all comes together, then obviously I think we're positioned well, and I think that's why a lot of retail is here in the first place. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, him giving them examples, I don't dispute any of that. It's just a matter of executing it and getting it done. So if we make it through to next year, you know, yeah, I mean, obviously we need production, we need deliveries, we need all of those things. But does he have a sense of like how badly retail has been hurt, and maybe he would understand why it's called a
So
scam?
I told him, giving example, a few of the retailers, how much they lost and what they're going through in their lives. The same thing. I gave my example in my life as well, and I told him why you're, jacking up your, salary from 200K to 750K, and you're, making rewards on some of the standard stuff that, operation stuff that, that needs to happen is not something, you know, uh, incredible, right? It's just, in order to do business, you have to do those homologations to whatever. So those are part of, you can't just take a rewards off of it. I told him your reward should be straight for the performance and the revenue, not by the each individual tasks that you're getting rewards. So those needs to be given up. I told him, that's why, a lot of people are upset because they're losing money. You're still getting paid one way or the other, so that's
Yeah,
how the retail feels.
right. If retail wasn't losing so much money and he was making his performance bonuses, yeah, no big deal. But yeah, obviously he's making a killing on things that, like you said, is just a normal progression of
The
getting a
company, yeah.
successful business going. And right. So yeah, I was curious if he had any like real, I don't know, grasp of exactly what retail has gone through.
I know he hears it. I think whether he feels it, he have anything to fight for it is two different thing, right? So I think he heard enough, and he says he's fighting for retail, and really, actually he's just fighting, for himself too. He's losing money as well as the company as well. So I I don't doubt on that front, but I told him you need to understand what you did wrong, right, in the first place. Talk about the F500. Talk about the dilution. We never signed off for dilution to 6 billion. That was what we signed up for. We signed up for the deals that you mentioned, and obviously, he didn't make too many comment on that front. But I think he heard and hearing all those daily basis, from lightning threading into whatever, right? So I don't think him hearing from retail is not the problem. He hears you know a lot, right? The problem is how he's going to fix it, and that's where I don't think he has a lot of um, way to address that at this point. So yeah, so that's where we stand.
But who knows more than insiders? And if insiders not buying any shares, like how we should know there is like it's good future for this company? It's just show us like a
Yeah,
little bit of face of the company, and if you see the future, just
yeah.
buy some shares.
So the 13F filing. So unless you're buying at certain percent level, or if you're not board of directors or C level or some management executive, the regular people buying will not show up on anything, right? But Dan's of the world, Dan Sanchez, and some of the other guys, they bought, and they're same shoes as ours, and they bag holding as well. So they're people buying. I don't know. I can't speak for a few hundred folks they just hired. So I don't know across the board, but at least for the management, they haven't bought, for sure, and that's the credibility that we've been talking to David for past, I don't know, year and a half. So he knows that too. And given that next year's is when Bollinger starts selling, and after their Q1, Q2, those revenue will reflect on Mullen's book, right? So that's where things will get interested, right? So that's the kind of the thing we have to look at. And obviously, the market doesn't see the value of Mullen, the assets, the cash they're holding, and he did mention some frustration on that part, that why they're not seeing our assets, Bollinger and all that stuff, and he himself, not quite understand why the market cap is where they at.
He's just been quiet. Like he doesn't talk like a lot about even like building. Like nobody heard from him anything. Like he could just throw some news, but he just doesn't communicate with anybody.
Yeah. I mean, his excuse is he put out the news, he put out the pilots, and he kind of was interesting is that a lot of retail was calling Newgate, and they're just ringing their phone off, and they were frustrated. It was like, well, why I'm getting all this and all that, and and few other, like he made also example on their Dell pack as well. The same thing on that. They brought the website down and they were calling them constantly. So they never seen retail investor like Mullen. So I was like, well, because they lost money. If you're all good and if your stocks are positive, then they won't be calling all those folks. They'll be calling you to how well done, you have done, right? But it's the other way, because they need to find out all these are new, real deal or not, right? That's why they're anxious. That's why they're calling. So yeah. So he was putting up retail in that front. It's like, what are you gonna retail is gonna do? I mean, you're not giving us info, so we're proactively, and that's what I've been doing. Same thing, right? I'm proactively digging information. Like, how are you finding out all this information? It's like, are you talking to GMs? Like, I don't have any connection to GM. All my researches are, what you have, what direction you're going. Therefore, I go up, search, and connect the dots. It's like, tell me, what do you know? It's like, tell me what you know. I don't have anything. It's like, why are you asking me? Because I'm not running business. Come on, man. So
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
think going forward, I know it's been said before about communication. I think if he could somehow figure out a way to
yeah,
just have candid communication with his investors, just get rid
yeah,
of the lawyers,
yeah,
whatever. I mean, obviously you can't, discuss things that would affect stock price and things like that, but just have a candid,
yeah.
a good rapport with your investors and a good communication, and I think that would definitely go a long way.
Yeah, so I did mention it several times, and I invited to space multiple times, including this one as well, that he's talking to, retail almost every day, right? So why don't he just take that time and just address it through YouTube Live or Space or whatever the comfortable mechanism is, and we don't want that recording. We want that interactive, right? Like we want to
Yeah.
hear from a live person. We want to, we don't want to see a filtered down conversation that driven by someone, So, but obviously, he hasn't really done that yet. So I
Yeah,
doubt that will change.
he's got to figure out a way to get rid of the lawyer stuff, and just even if it's like one time a week, 5 minutes, whatever,
I did,
just
yeah. I
have it.
suggested multiple times. Yeah,
Yep, that
believe
would go a
me.
long way for sure.
Yeah. But he maybe he's just shy person, that he doesn't do really well with a lot of groups of folks, and that's why I even mentioned a few times that if you're not comfortable speaking in large groups or whatever, right? And going to these conferences and talk about your vision, your directions and things like that, then you step down as a CEO and be a chairman and put a more recognizable CEO in the automotive industry to let him and build the credibility, let him be the business guy, sales guy, and build the partnerships, and and do that, right? That will go a long way too, but obviously that didn't work. I tried that over a year, but yeah, it didn't go anywhere.
No, I don't think David's going to go anywhere as CEO, but definitely if he could have somebody else, I don't know, John Taylor, whoever else could address investors, release the information that way people have a more informed idea about what's going on. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a
Yeah,
lot that they could have done differently for sure, and we all see that. So I just sometimes I wonder maybe he's just too busy trying to push forward and get things done, where he doesn't really have time to worry about all those little things that we see. But I don't know. I mean, he definitely needs to do something differently. We all know
yeah,
that. That's for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, 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 for sure. And we've been telling him, right? Myself, Sean, to all these other guys, that talking to him, I think he heard earful. So I don't think anything that we say. I don't think he heard it for first time. He probably heard for millions times, right? So that says, because some people, if they hear a lot of the same stuff, then they'll go, oh, okay, this is what I need to do, right? But I guess that's not him.
And just all the news, like even with the date, everybody, all long investors, they've been holding, and they knew one date, and after he on the, like, I can't remember, 7th, he said like, oh, actually it was till 6th of November, like you can accumulate the shares or wherever.
Yeah, you're talking about voting rights, right? That was changed from end of October to November 6th, after that last filing. So
Yeah,
yeah, I mean he has no control over that. Those guys are those guys. They're exercising. They're obviously have different intention, and that's where I don't think David has any idea why they are doing it, and what purpose is all behind it. So,
but it's not as good for long shareholders to do that. It's not like all the.
but it's not him though, right? Those warrants are not owned by him. It's owned by the toxic guys, and if they want to drive everything down, and that's what they're doing. I mean, if they are believing the company and things like that, they would hold you know until the price hikes, right? But they're clearly doing something else with it. And the off exchange has been 60 to 80% in between, and lately has been average of about 70%. So yeah, that says a lot too. You, Bonnie?
Yeah, sorry, I needed to go to a quieter spot at my job. Two things. Number one, I keep on having a lot of your spam accounts trying to add me and take a lot of my money. I've reported a couple of them. So,
Yeah.
and I know it's not you because I don't have you as a friend on Twitter. So, secondly, more importantly, right? Um, do we have a definitive date on when we're getting the release for the finalized Mullen 5? I kept on hearing throughout the tour that they were going to release the press or come up with a definitive date. Have you heard anything through your communications?
No, no definite. What we know is it's been pushed off to late 2025 and 2026. So that's public information, their website. But I did tell them that you need to pause, just like what Bollinger did, on all your other side projects, and get a full attention on the commercial and get that up, and then until that racks up the certain amount of revenue, right, in terms of millions and millions of dollars, not a couple hundred K. Then you should focus on your resources on the commercial. I told him, why are you hiring all these folks for the 5 and GT, GTRS, and power ups to whatever? That's not going to make any impact until 2026. But he has a different thought, and he doesn't want to be 1 point striker. It's like, well, it's time to focus now. It's not time to drive 5 different projects. You typical company, when they launch a product, they need to see a one product seed and revenue generate before move on to others. And there's no difference in any industry, whether it's software, hardware, or retail, or focused products, or same thing or auto. You need to launch the one product, get the revenue going. You can never be successful when you're driving 5 different directions. So I reiterate, probably 100 times, and then on this call again. But it's just me, right? So he'll ultimately he needs to make a decision. So
I was gonna.
hopefully that answers your question.
I was gonna say also, you know how sometimes a lot of the CEOs or important figures, they'll do like on Reddit to do like the Ask Me Anythings. I
Mm-hmm.
think that would be the best way for David to kind of be able to get around, to be able to answer some things, and if there's things he can't answer, just say like, look, for legal purpose, I can't say that.
Yeah.
I think even having one of those, even if
Yeah.
his attorneys are there on the side, I mean, it would still be something where he's at least giving something back to those that are invested, want to be
Yeah.
invested, or have a curiosity of what the hell's going on with Mullen. Do you think that's something you could pitch to his ear?
Yeah, I think he heard it that as well. We want him to address those things for shareholders meeting. We ask him to be on a space to address those things, and on that front, he didn't get any response from him.
And the thing with
Yeah.
lawyers
So
is that
yeah.
lawyers can suggest a lot of things, but ultimately it's up to them and the board of directors to to decide whether they're going to take the legal opinions of the lawyers and run with it. Ultimately, it does fall on them to say like, all right, we know what the lawyer said, but we know what
Yeah.
boundaries
For sure.
within we can communicate, and it doesn't seem like they're willing to budge on anything.
Yeah, I mean, I told him, you're ultimately your CEO. You make the call. Lawyers are lawyers for their protection. So as a CEO, you know what to say, what not to say. Hopefully, he knows, right? And that's how you communicate based upon public information. That's what he's been saying. The PR is out. Other than what's publicly out there, I can't really talk about it, right? So he does that on the call today. He does that on the text messages to everyone. So he can just follow the same guideline, right?
Right.
Then he will just feel fine. But I don't know why he's not open to talking to retail directly, right? On live, and it just beats me because that question has gone through, probably 100 times to David from multiple different people. So I don't know. So he asked for the feedback. I gave him the feedback a couple weeks ago. But again, it's like I follow up. It's like I given you feedback, but it's the same thing. All the things that I mentioned, right? All the things that you guys mentioned as well. But it's like, oh, I'm busy. Let me get back to you, and he goes off, right? So it's ultimately him that then need to make a decision. He heard enough, so beyond that, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, True Ninja, he texted me that if I can ask you if warrants almost done. Thanks.
He said is almost done. He said his tail end of it. So whatever that means, and he didn't say exactly how much you're into it or how much you left, but Hey, David, I
So
don't know.
so
Yeah,
when you mentioned the 6 billion shares, you meant that like 2 years ago when they started?
yeah, last year,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I thought you was 6 billion right now. And then you mentioned something about the
No, no, no.
RRDS, the loan. Is that what's coming Monday or this week?
No. So what I said was there was a PR that announced a couple of days ago that they have jointly submission
Yeah.
to Custom and Border Protection, I think,
Yeah.
agency. So I asked them if that submission has been already
Yeah, I think there's like
submitted.
25 billion available, and how much of a percentages are they going to get, Mullen? I think they get a certain
No,
percentage,
no, no,
huh?
no. That's not
Or
it.
certain,
Yeah,
there's a
that's not it.
billion or 25 billion or something. I don't know.
No, yeah.
Um,
That joint response, he said, look at the PR. So
yeah.
if I, look at the PR,
Hmm.
it looked like, the submission is already submitted. The whole vehicle is awarded. It's not for Mullen, right? That 20 whatever 2 point whatever the number is
Yeah.
that's awarded. That was prior to us, and that was general. So they've been acquiring vehicles through that vehicle contract since 22 already. So daily basis they're or weekly basis they're getting those vehicle deliver. It's not lump sum. It's one here, one there, to different folks, and you can find that information pretty easily out there. But that's just the
Acquiring
overall.
vehicles from who?
Just
What?
anybody, the
Oh,
Ford to whoever, right?
are
That
you
they
talking about the?
GSA vehicle.
Oh,
There's a GSA that all these purchases are going through GSA,
are
and
you
there's a
acquiring
list of
purchase orders?
vendors
Yeah.
listed. Yeah, so they can go purchase any vehicles under the contract to any vendors.
Yeah, I think the 1,000 Elms vans were all partially already built up in Indiana or something. They just had to ship them down there for final assembly or something. The tuning crew.
No, we don't know what
Oh,
that's are. Yeah, so
oh,
we know some of those are going to, or mainly going to Randy, but we
yeah,
don't know how those issues are being worked out.
yeah. Talking about Randy, is there any? Did y'all talk about the dealer's licenses stuff or airbag
Yeah,
stuff or anything?
no, I didn't talk to David on that front, but
Oh, yeah, you can't
I
talk
think
about
there was a
yeah.
separate tweet. No,
Well,
no,
yeah,
the
yeah.
separate
I
tweet
know. I
came
know.
from.
Yeah. He just can't get on there and talk freely with people. I mean, because he could be
No. What
accused
I'm
of
saying is
pumping
that
his stock or something like they have strict rules on Nasdaq about that. A CEO just coming out in the open anytime and just talking to people
no,
about details about the
no
company.
for no for your question on the dealer. I did tweet last week that they're getting their license this coming Wednesday.
Yeah,
So
Randy,
that
I think,
was confirmed through Randy's.
and then Mullen's already got their dealer's license,
Yeah,
right?
Mullen got theirs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there was a conversation with Financial Journey or somebody with Brad, and they were under the assumption that that I think sure like companies like Chevrolet, GM, and Ford weren't required in the state of North Carolina to have a dealer's license because they're so well known and such a big company.
No,
So there was a
anybody that
mix-up,
sells needs to
huh?
have a dealer's license. Anybody
Yeah,
that
but
sells has to have a dealer license.
I think Randy Marion initially thought that they didn't need one for Mullen, and it turned out they did, and they just maybe found out this maybe a couple of months ago. But I think Mullen's already got their dealer's license, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And then Randy's getting theirs this coming Wednesday, and
yeah,
there's already been a confirmation on that.
yeah.
Yeah. So and you said something about the warrants. Did y'all talk about them being done? I think you just mentioned.
He said it's tail end of it. That's what he said.
Oh yeah, yeah. Did he say he was for the reverse split or against it?
He didn't say,
Oh, he didn't
but
say. Oh, okay.
yeah, he didn't say. But according to some of the things he was saying, how he wants, how we can get onto one or meet
Yeah.
one by next month and things like that. I think he still remains to be listed on Nasdaq, which means he's gonna vote for yes on the RS. So that's just my assumption by kind of reading what he's saying, or what he wants to do. I mean, here he has tons of shares, right? That
Yeah,
performance reward base that he's gonna get next year. So you know he doesn't want to miss it. So
yeah,
if
it's in
that
his
kind of
contract.
if he has that kind of reward out there, yeah, it's he can get fresh 2%, 3% per deal or per task or per accomplishment next year. Then yeah, he's gonna get those shares back one way or the other.
Yeah, I think he sold his shares before the reverse split, like a few weeks before, for 16 cents or something like that. And that's when he came out, was talking about the share price should be at least 38 cents to have a certain market cap. That was before I think he's holding on to these 10 million right now, though. I think it's something like 10
Yeah, that's the
million
count. Yeah, that's the official
300,000.
count.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
on the
that's the
books.
official count. Yep.
So I mean, like a reverse split. I mean, I don't know. I mean, going to the OTC and I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I got not much
Yeah,
option.
yeah, I know. But they have 200 million on the books, but maybe that's getting drawn down with salaries, expenses right now in the warehouse. I'm not sure, how much they actually have still out of that 200
Yeah,
million they
wait until
announced a
next
month
filing.
ago.
We'll find out.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so.
Yeah,
But
we'll find out in the
yeah.
next filing.
Yeah, thank you so much for keeping us updated on the
Yeah,
shipments and information and all that. And that really helps and all that because,
yeah,
there's so many frustrated people, that
yeah,
figured, I mean, that have lost a lot of money in this, like maybe $100,000 and stuff like that, or their stock's gone down from like $5 to, or maybe they had 500,000 shares and now they got 10 shares. And I mean, that's just crazy. But, the guy can only say so much. I mean, they didn't have anywhere to borrow the money from, I guess, from these toxic lingers, because other than that, you'd have to come up with some kind of collateral to start the company back then. It's just I don't know, from what I'm thinking about. But that's all I've got to say.
all right. Does anybody know who these two guys are? True Ninja and Hustler?
Who were they again?
No, there's two people asking for a mic, and I've never seen those guys, True Ninja and Hustler. So I'm not sure if they're gonna come on and start going the Bears route, and I don't want to hear him.
No, True Ninja, I think we know him.
Okay. Hey, True Ninja, you got the mic?
Hey, Chacha. Thanks for letting me in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you answered most of my questions. But based on what I heard, the basic question was, if he's not going to give any information which is not public or any updates, what is the point of his call to you? Was he trying to gauge investor sentiment or something that he's not already aware of?
Yeah, I think the sentiment is one of them, and the second one is I think it's just the frustrations, like that post. So all the posts that I post, I send to David just for him to know, right? From the inventory counts to the SAIC, the GM Ling, partnership to all that stuff. So I guess he's been kind of paying attention, and today's I don't know what ticked him off, and he calls like it's like you seem like more than me and more than some of our program managers, and like where you get all this info from? It's like it's public information, just like you said. Yeah, it's public information. It's like do you have any? Are you talking to anybody? Like GM, or are you talking to somebody? No, I don't talk to anyone. It's like I don't know anybody. that's that relating to what you guys are doing. So that's where he was questioning, like, I'd like to get some idea bounce off from you, and so that's what the call is about.
So in a negative way, was it trying to see how you're getting this information?
Yeah, it's more of how do I know this stuff?
Okay, you should be you're the one who should be telling us.
Yeah, exactly. I told him, it's like, I mean, you're the CEO. I have no insight into what you're doing on a daily basis. So you tell me, what the hell's going on with your company. Don't ask me, because I don't know anything other than what's out there.
Right. The other big thing it has always been. I mean, it's not something new that he acts like it's like a one-man show. But there is legal, there is compliance, there are other teams involved, and obviously
Yeah.
there are advisors for him, right, on how obviously the Nasdaq advisors. Those. I'm not sure. If he ever listens to them, or if he tries to run his own show, if he listens to any of them, investor relations, these guys usually have weekly meetings to understand how the investor
Yeah, I'm sure
sentiment
they
is,
do.
things like that.
Yeah.
But if he's trying to call you, understand where things at, I don't know. I think if he's probably disconnected from reality, or I really don't understand what his action
Yep.
plan is to get us above $1. I mean,
Yeah. So almost every day I told him, what is your plan? What is your plan? What is your plan? But obviously he didn't respond. And on the call, I asked him the same thing. So what is your plan? What news is coming out this week or next week? But all he says is, I'm working hard.
Did he sound
yeah.
positive about something, or bring up something, or just
I mean,
something he said
I
he
think he
sounded
has
positive about?
news. Yeah, I
Huh?
think he has news. I think he has a news to put out, but I don't know that news is good enough to, push the price up or a positive way, or that I don't know. And that's why I told him, unless it's combination of those updates, right, from ATVM loan update to lawsuit update to buybacks to the big partnership announcement to big purchase order, big deliveries, unless those things all happen at once, I don't think we're gonna meet one. That's what I
Did
told him.
he sound kind of excited about it, anyways? About all the
I
projects
mean,
going on?
yeah, I think he's excited for what they're doing, and he's proud of what accomplishment they're making. And it's like,
Right.
as auto manufacturers, you're homologating vehicles. It's everyday process, every product process. It's not. It's something wonderful that no one company can achieve. Right? It's everybody does it when we're
Yeah, he seems
together.
like he's more
So
excited
those
about
are kind
the
of
Mullen 5 and the sports cars they're making, besides the vans and the commercial. To me, from what the
yeah. We didn't talk
PRs.
about too much of the we didn't talk too much about the consumer side. More focused on the commercial side.
Maybe because everything's done in it, so it's not as exciting to them or something. I don't know.
No, I think they're still far off. That's why the timeline wise, is still far off. So,
But
Chacha, you know what?
that's where.
I think Michery, he read your post and he said, "Oh, Chacha already posted, so it's no news." So I guess he's just not posting any news because you posting everything.
yeah, I don't know.
You were saying that
I mean, he did
he
ask
wanted to
questions
know
like,
where you're getting this information about the shipments and
yeah,
stuff. Well, that's
exactly.
public information. Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm talking to someone like GM or somebody, it's like, where do you get your information? It's like, okay, you just search.
He didn't ask you to stop posting?
No, he didn't say.
Okay.
He appreciate what I'm doing.
Because even in this new lease, like we didn't get from Mullen. Actually,
Yeah.
like we got from other sources, and that's weird. Like it shouldn't be like that. We should get first information from them, all the information, not from other sources.
So I can make up a story, but it's a story. Because I found that the leasing, and I did a space call for 10-15 minutes on that, and if I'm dreaming, then tours coming to ramp. They're about to do one-on-one with polymer testing by this quarter, which is also public information. And then the new acquisition of the lease building, and then the assets from Romeo, and there might be something like ATVM loan update. That's if I'm just seeing those acquisitions and things like that getting in line, and then vehicle testing they have done through tour, because I do remember at one point last year he mentioned about they're going to do a joint tour with DOE, with their commercial van, right, which is the MULN One. So if I'm looking all that back, and if I'm magically dreaming of it, then that would be something I would be dreaming of coming out of the news next few weeks. But obviously, that's just a dream, right? That's just a
Right.
hoping the
Right.
best cases, but I don't think that will be the case.
Hope is not a strategy.
Yeah.
I I don't know if he believes that we'll get to about dollar just by hoping. So
Yeah.
the most pressing point right now, the more immediate issue at hand is obviously the reverse split and the delisting, right? So did you hear any sense of importance or urgency to this matter from your conversation?
I mean, he's extremely frustrated. Why they're attacking all this, for last year and a half or 2 years with multiple splits. So he's confused.
Yeah, I mean,
He's
I don't.
frustrated.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I really don't understand why he's frustrated. I don't want to. I'm not a someone who who talks FUD, but if you think about it, right? If you look at the lawsuit that they filed with all the dealer
Yeah.
brokers, who kind of forced them to do two reverse splits because of all the naked short selling and whatnot. But if let's say those reverse splits did not happen, we will be at what, 44 billion OS. So how can a company of Mullen
Yeah.
size have 44 billion? Let's say even if we are at 10 cents, we'll be at 4 billion market cap, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how can you justify that market cap with all that toxic financing and dilution and all that, and blame it on reverse splits? I really
No, he's blaming on shorts, not the reverse splits, right? But I told him, like I said, I'm not sure if you heard it, but I told him, you got us here because of amount of dilution that you did it within a year. No company took 100 whatever outstanding share last year, in this last year February, to last two splits was before split was 6 billion. So no
right,
company took that dilution their approach, and that's ultimately what attract all the shorts and everybody else. So you ultimately caused this damage.
right,
So he has to take it on his ownership, and he needs to come out and say, which I think one way or the other, I think he did mention about toxic lenders one point, but that's the main issue, right?
right. That is the
And the
main
main
issue,
problem
right?
that we are here,
Yeah, the
and
problem with them is, for someone like David with his past history, he's not someone who is going to um, eat them, for lack of a better word, because if he needs funding, these guys are the only last resort in the future. And also, Equitas is someone who is not a registered security seller, so that's something that, I mean, if he's really frustrated about what they're trying to do by lowering by kind of shorts doing short selling or whatever the strategy is to suppress the stock price to get more shares, to convert their warrants to more shares so that they can dump them. So it's clearly, um, not illegal because that's part of the warrant agreement, but suppressing the stock price by other tactics, naked short selling and all that to get more shares is clearly illegal. And if he's really frustrated about them, he can actually go after Equitas by filing a lawsuit. I mean, they're not registered security seller. They can. He can do that, but that's what I'm trying to understand. If he's blaming it more on the whole market manipulation, or is it more on these toxic lenders? He can actually get out of this by buying back, to some kind of a negotiation to buy back the remaining warrants. That will significantly improve the market sentiment. If he comes out and says, well, we did this because we were desperate for cash, and these were the only guys who are willing to give us funding. And now that we are out of this, we will not sign any more contracts like this, things like that, to regain investors' trust. So that's something that I was hoping that he will do.
I think
And
he has done it some way, not probably more transparent way, but he did say the going through toxic lender was only option
right,
at that time, and then reverse merger with Net Elements, which is pretty much he inherit all these from the Net Element days as well. So he knows some of that stuff that he has done or what he got into. So hopefully moving forward, that will change. But
right.
yeah,
One
yeah,
last thing
I
that
don't
I
know
have
what's
here.
gonna. Yeah.
Yeah, one last thing is, thank you for your patience. So, did you hear anything? Obviously, this is not anything not public. He will not share. But did you get a sense of how the OT is going for reverse split? Any early indications that it is not going in their
No.
favor?
Nope. Don't know.
Okay. Obviously, I mean, we still have it's one more month. Uh, yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else, guys? All good. If you're all good, thanks for joining in, and hopefully there's some positive stuff coming out in the coming weeks. So let's see who one more guys. Yeah, I was going to wrap up, Mohammed.
Thank you, Chacha. How are you doing?
All right, not bad.
Got a quick question. Summary for the people who came
Yep.
in late for the space, please.
Yeah. What was your question?
Can you give us like a summary for the space for the people who came in late, like me?
Summary? Yeah. So summary is what I posted on the X, right? Summary is there basically. Just a lot of questions, from my side, and also why we're here because of dilution. And he was just asking, what can he do differently, or what I think, where do I get some of the information? So mainly, it was that kind of call to answer, and him kind of going over some of these concerns, his side of the stories and things like that. So other than that, there's no really, any indication of big news or whatever else is. But he just hopes that with 3 weeks left till, or 4 weeks, whatever that is, December, middle of December, that he hopes that he will get to compliance. And he asked me, are you feeling the same way? As I said, unless all those things are happening, which ATVM loans to lawsuit update to big delivery news, big deal, and all that other stuff, I don't think we have a chance to get to one. So he was like, why? He was like, because there's the pressures are too strong and too high, and I don't know if we can overcome that unless there's compounding news, right, that can create some massive volume. Unless that, I don't see it. So he thinks otherwise, but he knows something that we don't know, obviously, right? So he didn't reveal anything that's not public. So hoping some news will drop in the next couple of weeks. I don't know if that's going to be enough from my perspective, but hopefully I'm wrong.
Yeah, one more thing. Thanks. And
Yeah.
the M3, you have 10 of them produced. Did he mention any more numbers increased?
No, he didn't mention anything else. But on the other hand, I did post a pictures of someone who went to Troy, so I forgot to mention that. But thanks for bringing that up. There is exactly 10 sitting at Troy office, MULN 3. This was as of today, this morning. And then there was a couple of MULN 1s without the tires, at least. I don't know what else is missing. It was parked outside the Troy office. And then there's a couple of demo vehicles, MULN 3's demo vehicles with the box truck also apart. And that's also at Troy office as well. And there's one vehicle from Elm State, has a Stanford University logo on it. So I think that was a pilot that went out back in 21 or 22. So that was parked outside. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if that is the actual production ones or if it's heading to somewhere else, but there's some pics out there. If you compare to a couple months ago, pics at the Troy, obviously a lot has changed, and all those crash tested vehicle that was sitting on a Troy office, those were all gone, obviously. So, and then mentioning crash testing. One thing he did say is they gone through hundreds of crash testing of MULN 1s. So that's that.
All right, thanks.
Yep. I don't know who this Johnny is. David.
Did he mention any about the polymer battery testing and for the MULN?
Yeah. So I mentioned that earlier, right? They have a PR already stated back in April that they will do polymer testing of the MULN 1s at the Q4.
It's supposed to be ongoing right now. Did he mention how
that should be happening soon?
So he didn't say anything about that, about the polymer battery.
He did say the testing. He did say testing, and he basically said, refer to my, or refer to PR.
Yeah.
So that's what.
Did he mention it? About the new the battery. The battery factory out in California. Did he mention anything about that?
Not really. I sent my tweet when that came out. When that news came out, I send them again the same thing I did. Occasionally, whatever the new news is, I send them via text as well for him to look at it, and he acknowledged it. That's why if you look at my tweet, and the tweet says David confirmed, right, that properties to consolidate Monrovia and the equipment they just purchased, right? The asset they acquired from Romeo Power for battery production.
Yeah, and about the M1, you said he did say they were shipping out this Wednesday. Did he mention how many?
No, that's just a license, right, for the
Oh, I
Randys
see.
to get
I see.
their license, not the shipping out.
Yeah, the whole license deal is Randy Marion has to have a dealer's license and Mullen to do business and for him to ship the
Yeah. So
vehicles
every
to
brand,
North
every
Carolina.
brand or manufacturer needs to have them.
Yeah. Small manufacturers besides the major ones.
The major ones they've been selling, so they have them, right? They had it for a long time.
Well,
and
they're so old.
Mullen being new.
Yeah, Ford goes back to so they might have just got grandfathered in or something. That's how government works too sometimes.
Yeah, so Mullen is being new. They didn't have any, so they have to apply for it.
Yeah, and the thing about the dealer's license is the state of North Carolina just issues them on the 15th and the 30th of the month.
Yeah.
And I worked in government for like 35 years. They just do things a certain way on a certain timeline. And
so that's what Brett said as well. So
that's the whole
they
deal
issue
with
at the 15th and 30th.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and both of them have to have a license, or there's strict fines for that if you don't have one.
Yeah.
To receive the vehicles.
Yeah.
Chacha, you mentioned a while ago that David was wondering where you was getting all your information from, and then I thought you said that he asked if you've been talking to GM. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Is there a reason he would ask that?
Because the post that I put on about the SAIC, GM, and Mullen stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's probably why it's referring to.
Okay, I just thought that was a little odd. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a lot of that information. It's just public information on the internet about the shipments, don't you? About the shipping company shipping them.
Yeah, that too. I mean, but it's interesting.
Yeah, that's all public.
Yeah, interesting with the SAIC and GM Mullen is if you go back in Wikipedia and you can look at it, actually GM and Ford was going after SAIC partnership back in 1980s, I think, to form a partnership, and GM ended up wanting it. So Ford lost it, and Ford went with the other partner. I can't remember their name, but it's on the Wikipedia if you look at it. So Ford went to another Chinese company for the transit to escape to whatever the other vehicles are being manufactured, right? So that's how the GM partnership form. And if you look at GM China site, there's Wuling logo on top of that, and then all the executive from GM, right, faces out there as well as an executive for managing that GM relationship, GM Wuling relationship as well. So, either way, I told him, if GM signs the deal to distribute those here in US, because Mullen has exclusive to distribute the Mullen One here, right? Then they just have to rebadge it. Then it's, I told him, then it's win for GM USA, win for GM SIC in China, and Mullen. So it's a three-way win. So, and he said, he'll sell pretty much anybody who wants to buy. So he didn't mention anything to target anybody, but if anyone wants to buy, we'll partner with them.
Yeah, also in your conversation with him, he just kind of seemed frustrated about the retail shareholders just sort of ringing off the hook, the phone calls.
Yeah.
So it wasn't about the company itself, how things are going, right?
Yeah.
Is that the kind of the general feeling you got with your conversation? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Anything else, folks? Good? Be right. I'll be right.
Also, this space is recorded, right, Chacha? And who missed it, they can listen from beginning.
Yeah, I think so. I didn't turn up the recording this time. Yeah.
Hey, Chacha.
Yeah.
Appreciate you hosting the call here and giving us the update with David. But did you happen to mention what's going on with Lawrence? Is there
No.
anything going on with Lawrence? Because he's definitely
Nah.
hopping in and out quite a bit lately.
Yeah.
Here and on
Yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah. So I don't pay attention too much to him now. Now since he's off of Mullen, there's no reason to bring it up. So I didn't bring up about Lawrence.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep. Hello, Chris. How you doing? Hope you get your folks to buy out the float. But I did mention to Lawrence on one of, or posted as a reply saying, if you're that confident and if you think whatever you're saying you'll change the company, then buy out the float. Let's see what you can do. But I haven't heard anything. I don't think he responded. But anyhow, he's just being. I think he's kind of trolling. But whatever. All right, thanks, folks. Let me know if there's any questions. I'll give last 60 seconds and we'll drop off, and hopefully something will happen. I know Garfield mentioned about Monday squeeze again, so it's like whatever. I mean, if it happens, it happens. But I'm all for anything. If Garfield can make things magical, then I'm all for it.
Hey, Chacha, it's
Hey,
Tim. How you doing today?
All right. What's
Not
up?
much. I just wanted to ask real quick. You might have already covered this question, but what are the chances for Mullen to obtain the government loan, the ATVM loan? Are there any chances of that still coming down into fruition?
Within this year, 0.
Was it talked about earlier in the space? Because I'll just go back and listen to it.
Yeah, it's briefly mentioned, but I did ask him if there's going to be any updates in next few weeks, because that will be one of the catalysts that combined will push sentiment in different direction.
Absolutely.
And he said he cannot say yes or no. I told him just say yes if there's any updates. And he said nope. I can't really answer that question.
Okay, I guess we'll find out. More is yet to be revealed. Am I right?
I don't know. Yeah, I think there's definitely something that's going to be announcing whether it's something impactful or not, like ATVM or lawsuit updates to big deal, right? Partnership, like how Amazon invested on Rivian along with Ford. If that kind of investment comes in or partnership comes in, yeah, then they'll drive up sentiment greatly. But
right,
it needs to be combined of all those things, right? If we want to change the direction and shoot it for one,
right.
But I told him, if it's not anything like that, I don't think I see anything. We get to a 1 by December, so that's what I told him.
I totally understand that. And that's kind of why I asked the questions. Like, say, for instance, if Mullen does try to team up with Fluid Truck, I think that would be an asset. That would be a benefit for the company, right?
Yeah, unless you know something that I don't know, then yeah. But obviously, I don't know, so I can't really say. But given that,
No, I
where we
understand.
are,
Right.
right?
Right.
Seeing,
But we definitely need a
yeah,
catalyst to push this thing forward. I agree with you. Thank you for bringing me up. I appreciate you letting me speak. Thanks.
no problem.
So if we're not up to $1 by January the 7th, and we don't have the, I think what is it, 10 days or being 20 above $1?
I think
I think it's 20.
I think artists will get approved in December. And then if they are not, up to dollar by January sometime, then they will simply do a reverse to stay on it.
Well, anyways, the NASDAQ still has leeway. I don't know if it's a done decision for them to be delisted. I'm not sure the NASDAQ can still make a decision whether or not to delist Mullen if they don't have their 20 days according to different parameters.
Again, there's a.
It's not like a automatic delisting, right? Because that's
they'll
what
get
we're
noticed,
talking about.
but they will get delisted if they don't meet that dollar by January some time frame, right? So if they don't see you're gonna meet dollar, and because of that, they will vote to yes to protect themselves getting delisted.
Oh, the NASDAQ will?
No.
Go ahead and delist Mullen? Oh.
Yeah, Mullen will.
You're talking about the vote on the reverse split, right? The company vote.
Yeah.
But is what we were talking about in the space call the other night is the NASDAQ still has leeways, even though Mullen has, like we're 79 cents or 63 cents for 10 days instead of over $1. I think they still have the decision because you look at Mullen, we're one of the most high volume stocks on the NASDAQ.
You can't really follow anything what discussed in the space, right? You have to follow the rules and what they say. So if you don't really meet that NASDAQ number, whatever we discuss in the space call, it's absolutely nothing but just our conversation. Rules.
Well, I've looked up the rules for the delisting, and they take different parameters like the volume of the stock and the health of the company, and
it's been extended 3 times, right?
Right. I've looked at companies that got delisted last year. I think there was 330, and one of them had to do with some kind of smile thing. They were in the verge of bankruptcy or something like that. Or they announced it. I think they announced bankruptcy the day after they got delisted off the NASDAQ. So they were already having business problems already, where they were going to have to file for bankruptcy anyways. But I just don't, for them to go ahead and delist Mullen after they're on the verge of all this delivering hundreds of millions of dollars of vehicles over the next 2 years or whatever, are already in the verge of, they've already delivered some of them. I don't know how that all works.
Yeah, it's a rules rule. They can go back and fight again, but you just have to go by what's public information. You can't really assume that because we're doing this, we're doing that.
You can't assume anything because the rules are the rules. Are the rules, and they can still be delisted because of the rule.
Yeah, you just have to go by the rules unless there's other updates coming out from whatever they're doing to fight back.
What the fact is we would just be leaving ourselves open to being delisted if we didn't have the 20 days over $1. That NASDAQ
that's why
actually delisted.
Yeah, that's why they have a reverse split vote, right?
And I think it's January. I think it's January the 7th that they could actually delist the NASDAQ if we're not over $1 for 20 days.
So if we're at 10 whatever, right? If he's gonna stay at this level, they have no other option than get a RS done. Because you're not going with a reverse split approval,
right?
You're not going to get anything positive out of it. You're going to go down. So they will have to do RS to get above certain right in a range to protect themselves. But that even work any, that doesn't even work favor to Mullen, because you see that the ticker, it's just going to dump straight up.
Right. I mean, it's not the reverse split that lowers the stock price. It's the dilution after. Like the last reverse split we had all these warrants that got added right
I mean,
after
that's sort of it.
the
But
dilution.
it's RS is ultimately what, giving them shorts and other people, right?
Right, and then the
reason
shorts
to bring
take
it down.
advantage of the fear
Yeah.
of the investors. Yeah, they come on, especially a company that's not producing any revenue yet. They take advantage of that and investor fear. I think it was Take-Two Interactive. I think they were at like 30 cents and they had 100 to 1 and it got pushed up to I think it was like $30 and the stock sold off to $5, because I think they only have like 21 million on the books so far and here and there, but and they're not really even sure how that business is going to go. But as far as Mullen goes, I mean, they've already sold they've already got a contract to produce 6,000 with Randy Marion next year. And in the process, delivering the
I mean,
300.
NASDAQ will not go off of the promise, right? And they have to see the fact, they have to, follow the rules.
Right.
It doesn't matter, if you have a contract or not. It's
Right.
about, what your performance is, if you meet the deadline. If not, they can go back and fight back on it. But, as it stands, we were talking about as it stands, right? There's no...
Yeah, I mean, it's still up to NASDAQ, but it's up to them to make the decision. But it's not a definite yes or no vote. Because
again, if you follow the rules, yes, there's a rule. That's why rule does exist.
Yeah.
We cannot go based upon if.
Mm-hmm. Right. Also,
And one more
did
thing.
he say anything else about the warrants being done next week again?
Again, I think we mentioned multiple times. He said it's tail's end of it, so we don't know.
Okay.
One more thing, Chacha.
Yeah.
After talking to him, David, do you feel bullish or bear?
I still feel shit.
Personally.
Yeah, I still feel like shit because we just don't know. I just don't know what he's holding. I don't know his cards. So at this point, when you like playing a poker, right? It's you're holding crazy shit cards. You go all in. No, I'll fold, right? So I'm in that state because he might be holding something, but I don't know what he's holding.
We're just waiting news from you, Chacha. You're faster than Mullen posting the news sometimes.
Well, I'm not faster.
No, about new lease.
Yeah.
And other stuff like, all the shipments and like many stuff we know not from Mullen. So
yeah, I mean, me tracking shipment and all the thing is because there's no proper, information given by the company, right? So in order to kind of stay in track, and are they really building something? If there's no shipment, then, clearly you can see the BS going on, right? But there's like a battery, the tire, the frames I put out there in the post, and today's post was for battery. And if you calculate, a number of kilos battery, and if you take one of the CATL battery at 3.8 kilograms per battery, you divide that total over, and then per sell retail price that's being sold in the market, and if you take that all the stuff, it's battery alone is about $5+ million they're spending, right? So, if he's really doing a scam and trying to not just to hide people and try to fake that, they wouldn't bring that, $5 million worth of batteries. They will do other means to do it. But clearly it's battery from CATL, frames from NIEC and vice versa. So, and then I did questions like, why are you bringing in the, like last post was the K50, right? They're bringing 5 K50 parts to assemble, And then a couple months ago was the MULN Go. They bought like 5 of them. And I told him, I understand you want to, you don't want to one pony trick, that you want to do all these things, but I told him you need to put a focus. While you're putting out something and you're not building a revenue where you should be, don't start something else, right? That will create an expense, that will create, all this slowdown. Why, God's sake?
You need to divide. You need to take his salary half because you're doing more than he does.
Well, yeah. Sometimes I wonder. Is like, I always hope, wishing that shoes, because doing all this tour. That's why I was saying, if I'm picking that, all the things happening, right? They're acquiring the facility, Romeo assets, doing a tour, and David mentioning about doing joint tour with DOE with commercial last year. So if these are all true, then there might be some ATM updates. But that's the kind of the me dreaming, right? By just looking at different like a pick, right, in different times. But yeah, I mean, I was just frustrated talking to him, like, just focus on one thing, right? Let's get the revenue up before you do all these other things. You already have hire all these folks for Irvine office for your consumer. Easily you could have put that resource into commercial and reduce the cost, right? You don't have to spin up the power up. You don't have to create, GTRS to 5RS and all that stuff. No one asked for it, other than him. Him wants to be something more than just a commercial truck.
Yeah, and you mentioned MULN Go. What happened to it anyway? Any update for that?
No updates other than what you saw in updates on that shareholder updates. So they're going after, other continent like South Americas and different parts for MULN Go. But yeah, I didn't even touch that point because I want to get answer, what he's doing, what his plans are, and he needs to focus on consumer because that's the only revenue generating product at this point, right? They can focus on. So
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the deals, they only come along every so often. Like the Romeo deal, he got for $3 million instead of paying assets worth $144 million. So it might just seem like a bunch of stuff going on at one time, and
yeah, I mean, you look at Volvo, right, picking up Proterra, battery business, and they're not even picking up the bus business, right, just battery. So and then obviously Nikola paid for Romeo, hundreds some million just a year back. So you're picking up, the assets and IP for 3.5 million. Yeah, you got it for dirt chips. It's like a ELMS, right? The plan.
and you did say David was kind of frustrated about the market cap being so low. I think you mentioned that. Yeah. He'd been frustrated that back as far as when I got in the stock back in June, right after the first reverse split, he was real frustrated with the market cap being so low.
Yeah. Yeah, he clearly, because of the asset of Bollinger, right, asset of LMs, and the potential deals with the LMs and Randy's, and the cash on hand, all those put together, it's go over well billion, right? So that's where he's frustrated that their market cap where they at, and I told him, you create this, your dilution got us here, so, and don't act like you're a naive person, right? You don't know anything because it's been out there for a while. So you have to take the majority of the blame. If not, who else? You cannot blame on retail. You cannot blame on the hedges and short because they just saw the opportunity and ride on it. So now you need to make something different and change the direction. But told him frankly, I don't know what's going to change other than all those things combined happen at once.
Yeah, when you say happen all at once, that's the potential for the perfect storm. If
Yep, yep.
Randy Marion releases, they get their dealer license. There's a potential ATM, the government loan out there. All these different scenarios could play out in such a way, that we're all very hopeful as long-term investors in Mullen that we want to see this company survive. And I think that's going to be a really good way for it to happen is with the catalysts that are due to come out soon. We follow this stock on a daily basis. And sometimes, guys, I believe that we look at it under a microscope sometimes because the long-term investment is if the company doesn't go bankrupt, I think they'll do just fine. Knowing that they have orders and production is due to be released soon. This is, in all intents and purposes, like a startup. All right. I know they've been around for a while, and there's a lot of circulation about that on the internet and Twitter and people talking and bashing David Michery. But he's taken this company this far. Let's see where we'll go now. Then the last 3 months has been pretty decent as far as his accomplishments, but let's see what happens in the next 3 months. You know what I mean? The idea is, yeah, if we did go down to OTC market, I'm actually okay with that as long as there's no RS anymore. We don't need the reverse split. We don't need it to happen. But I know we want to stay on NASDAQ. I get it. I understand that. But the fact is, I believe that even if the company continues to put vehicles together and put the rubber on the road, that I think at that point, even if they're on the OTC, they could still come back up. I think really what we should be asking ourselves, the question is, do you think it's a potential from being on an OTC market? What is the process to come back up to NASDAQ after they prove earnings and production? That's my question. What is the potential for coming back up from that?
Yeah, I mean, there's always potential, but David doesn't think that way, right? He wants to remain on the Nasdaq from what I'm reading, and I told him, you rather than you vote for, vote against, and show the investor that you're, fighting internally as well. And I'm okay with going to OTC. I don't want their split. So that I clearly told him, and that's where most of the retailers are for. So if he can do that, and that's the kind of summary that I put on there, that he needs to do, show that you're voting for no for RS and buy back immediately, and that will change some sentiment. But other than that, if you don't do that, then good luck.
If we will vote for no for second reverse split, I don't think we will be on this place right now at this price. Even if we will go to OTC, we will not be here, even on OTC market.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they could have done just not RS to start with and just let it go to OTC from the start. Who knows? It might have better. But the problem is that they have obligation, right? With the toxic vendors for the warrants and all that stuff. And I think that's where we are at. And ultimately, it's his fault to merge with that element and took that toxic lending to 𝗪𝗪𝗧. It's because he did make comments on specs not doing well, and look at now he's on the other opposite side of that fence, right? He would have been better going spec route, but at that point, he didn't really have a product to take to spec route because no one will fund him. That's why he took the route that he is right now.
I just want to touch on the I know is David is very brilliant man. Like he makes a deal, like very good deal, like for $3.5 million for Romeo Power. It's amazing. Like, and I know he can make a lot of money from that business, but it's just to be so quiet. That's what I get frustrated, and I don't like David for that. That he just quiet. Price are tanking, and he's not putting any news. That's what brings
Yeah, I
frustration.
mean, he had at one point told me that I can't just make up news, right? So news has to come organically as deals matures and whatever they're doing gets confirmed, so he can announce it or they can announce it. So, only thing I hope for is, he has something else bigger than I think. That's what I'm hoping for, but I don't know, man. There's so many things we've been hoping for this ticker for the last 2 years. So we are here. So, that kind of give you the realistic from a stat perspective, right?
What's your view on the reverse split? Do you think we have a chance?
No,
to
I don't
get
think we
known?
have chance. I don't think we have chance. I think there's a reason why they did it in the at last minute, right, on that warrants and increasing. The other guys are increasing, and obviously, David increasing from 1 million to 10 million, right? So all that, I don't think it's coincidence.
So you don't think there's going to be a reverse split, or you do think there's going to be a reverse split?
I think there is going to be a reverse split. That's why those warrants get exercised. We're timing, is kind of weird, right? And then his words are changed. Total share count from 1 million to now 10 million suddenly, right?
Right.
So everybody has more voting power right now.
Well, if we go to OTC, the OTC company, you don't have to have any requirements about reporting anything.
Yeah.
And you can't really sell any of your own stock, to raise capital hardly.
Yeah.
And there's all kind of stuff that goes on with the M&M trading. So maybe he just wants to make sure that we don't end up on the OTC by the NASDAQ.
Yeah, so he can get, rewards, all those rewards, right?
Right.
Which is good, like he received all those free shares now, but the problem is that I would rather him to receive after 6, November 6th, but he actually.
It's been already reported, right? So his total
Yeah.
counts to change. So
but he still
that's where,
there is 2% of his voting power, like 2 something. It's not a lot.
But it counts, right?
Yeah.
So everything counts, So that's where we don't know.
So everybody
we have an edge. Yeah.
Well, the whole thing about it is there's going to be a need to raise some major capital. Not right now, but say like when the MULN 5 comes out and the RS, in 2025, they're going to need 10 million, 50 million here to increase production, to open a new warehouse. So that's another reason of being on the NASDAQ, to be able to raise capital with some more shares, not like another 100 million, but we might be up, I don't know what dollar amount then that you could raise some serious capital to push the company forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I told him. He cannot take traditional, approach. What he needs to do is find, somebody like Amazon or what Rivian did, right, to get a commitment as a customer, as an investor, long-term investor. So you need that kind of investment, not traditional investment that he's been doing or what others are doing.
Did he mention anything about a buyout or anything about in talks with a buyout?
No, he didn't mention it. Last time I asked him about somebody's taking over, blah blah blah. From a buyout perspective, it says it's not. There's no public information from our end, so that's all rumors.
Have you been to any of the touring events and actually seen the M1 and M3 and taking a ride in the M5?
So I was out there for Sky River Casino with Lou. So I actually, saw the Campus One being delivered, and I drove it. So
yeah, how
that
did the Campus One? That's the one that only goes 25 miles an hour, right? Or 30?
Yeah, there's a software limit to
Right.
go
Is
on
it like a
certain,
governor or something like
yeah,
that?
yeah,
Because it's not street legal. Uh,
yeah. No,
we, we,
it was okay. I mean, it's a $22,000 car, right? Van. I mean, you can't complain with a $22,000,
that's what you want. I was a private courier, and you don't want to spend a lot of money for interior, all the interior bells and whistles and all you
Yeah,
need as a courier is
yeah,
you need to not pay very much money for gas. That's the main thing in
yeah,
those
yeah,
gas vans is that
and maintenance and all that
I
stuff,
know
right?
all the
I
vans are
mean,
notorious for
look,
maintenance and
if you
gas.
look
It's
at
terrible.
like airport, like Menzies and British Airways and those guys, if
Yeah,
you don't have to worry
you
about
don't.
supply chain of oil to your fleet, that
Right.
self is a win.
All you need is like a radio to stay entertained with the radio and stay cool. And
Yeah, so that itself is win. So in that kind of the angle, right? And for like Lou and Sky Casino, their whole campus, can be around 2 miles range, right? As the longest strip or mile. So at the 25-mile cap at 100% charge, it will give you 186 miles. So it will go in the weeks.
yeah, are the M1s going to be delivered with the 110-mile battery in them? The first ones are the
Yeah,
polymer.
yeah. That's the CATL, right? The batteries they've been getting, right? So those are
Okay.
the LFP batteries, and then what
How
they're going
about
to
if they
test.
how
Yeah.
about if they come out with a 200-mile polymer battery? Will it be
So
easy to
that's what they're testing this Q4.
will it be easy to interchange them in the M1?
It should be easy change.
Right. So the
I
new
mean, there might be a
polymer battery will
cost.
fit in the
Yeah, cost changes, but if you're doing campus only, 186 miles itself is good enough. So I don't think
that takes care of
we'll be
itself.
changing. Yeah. But if you're doing like Amazon last mile delivery as a contractors or FedEx or all those guys, then for them, 200 miles, will be a lot more beneficial for them. But they don't have to pay for $80,000 Rivian, right? And you can pay for 30,000, 20,000, sub 20,000, and you get 4 to 1 at least. Yeah,
$7,500 back in
3 to 1,
rebate.
4 to 1. Yeah, so for those little guys, it's not fancy as Rivian. It doesn't have an LCD panel, LCD monitors, and things like that. Nice looking and bulk, round headed, headlights, things like that. And it's a little bit bigger, obviously. Then yeah, I mean that's fine for those guys because those last mile delivery gets beat up.
It's good he mentions that they make money out of the vans and other companies are losing money.
Exactly, because they have the plants, right? So, and they have no debt. So in that regards, yeah. And then,
and especially with low price to make money, that's very good.
Yeah, and this people have rather than buying three one other Ford or Rivian vans, they could get 2 or 3, right? And you'll be more efficient for those last mile deliveries.
Yeah, actually, it's only 27,500 because there's something like a 7,500.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Some kind of a rebate or something that you can take off
federal
tax credit.
Yeah, tax credit.
Who actually gets that federal tax credit?
Whoever's buying the van get tax credit.
Would that be Randy Marion or Randy Marion?
No, whoever's end customer.
The end user.
Customer. Yeah. So actually, he's getting a $27,500 electric van.
Yeah.
If he uses that 7,500 tax credit with the current MSRP of 34,000, I think what they're,
Yeah, and if you need 10 M1 Mullen vans, multiply the $7,500 by 10. I mean, it's amazing. It's a great incentive for these companies to go with the fleet electric vehicles. That's what we're striving for. And I think the Mullen M3 straight trucks, the cab and chassis design, I believe that can get a $4,000 tax credit or additional.
40,000. Yeah, 40,000.
40,000. I'm sorry, you're right. My correction. My bad.
In
That's what I meant to
California,
say.
in Cali,
40,000. I mean, that's huge. That's unbelievable. You know,
yeah, in
that's
Cali.
a really big deal.
Yep.
What when you're at the touring events, what impressed you most about the MULN vehicles? I think I've seen comments about the quality and everything, especially how easy it was to open up stuff in the MULN One to get this the access panels, like the electronic stuff. What kind of stuck out to you when you were at the touring event about the MULN vehicles and the Bollinger vehicles?
Yeah, I didn't go to a touring event. I went to the very first one in 22 in LA. This was the very first tour.
Yeah.
For the 5, but
is there anybody else here that could get up and talk about that? That was at the
I think
touring
overall experience are all good. I don't think there's
That's
any
what I've read.
negative. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
no
I think
really
I
negative
think they're
things.
saying something about the quality. You're impressed?
Well, it's still early to say because these are all pre-production, right? The finish is not there. So, but overall, I think it's well received.
Yeah, I think somebody said something like the GT had like a BMW steering wheel, and like the Dragonfly was actually takeoff of some other model and everything, and the front part of it was designed after another vehicle. But I mean, what do you want? Do you want the company to have spent like $1.5 billion on designing the car first, or thinking about the profit margin? The end product right now, and it looked fine to me. I mean, I'm not too impressed with that pickup truck that Tesla's come out with. Myself. From just my own opinion.
Well, you're not impressed, but I'm still getting one. So.
Oh.
Listen, the Cybertruck is an awesome vehicle. Okay, and I didn't mean to jump in here, but let me say that. But the Cybertruck is not really used for last mile delivery or something of that. We're not really comparing apples to apples here. But I get where you're going with that. But the Cybertruck's very cool. And Chacha, you're going to get one, right?
Yeah, I don't know when I'm going to get one, but
that's what I wondered.
How much is that Cybertruck retailing for right now?
It's about, I think the guess estimate is about $70K.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
Is there a parameter of a time frame that you might take delivery of your vehicle?
The Cybertruck?
Yeah, the Cybertruck. Yeah.
I think I'm like 2 years out.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, it's going to be so advanced. It's such a cool looking vehicle.
Yeah, the funny thing is, someone put some document out there, and on that doc basically says, if you buy initial delivery of Cybertruck, which is going to be delivered end of this month, starting, you cannot resell that unit for a year. And if you do, then there will be a penalty, and also you will be banned from, Tesla, buying Tesla. So there's a kind of, I guess, they're trying to stop, from like when the Lucid Dream Edition first came out, they're buying it and selling off the market with a 50,000 to 100,000 markup price, right? So I think they're trying to stop that, and that's what they're doing. Anyways, I don't know. There's a couple other guys, but I don't know those guys. Let me know if you know these three: Ali and David and Johnny.
I've never seen him before.
Yeah. So the last time I casually introduced, they just come up and said completely random stuff. So
they can listen on we answered lots of questions. So you did actually. So they can listen from beginning.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for
So
holding the space.
yeah. So
It,
hopefully that helps some of you guys. And I know it's not what you guys are looking for in terms of getting answers, but obviously I try to get much as I can, but I couldn't get any really other than asking for info. So like, you should be giving me info, not asking me for info. So it's like, I don't know how that works.
You've been very informative, Chacha, and I thank you very much for all your time spent and doing your due diligence and research. You are the due diligence master, and I wanted to say that.
Yeah, like I said, I started with the Lucid back, whatever, and then when Lucid started production, I moved on to SoFi, and I did the SoFi, and SoFi is cruise control. They're just breaking every records every quarter, and move on to Mullen. So, and then Tesla is Tesla. I mean, there's nothing for me to cover because there's so many people are covering. So there's no added value me covering Tesla. So this was next one I jumped into, but obviously this one didn't go well. So hopefully that changes.
Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Thank you for what you do.
All right, guys. If there's no other question, thanks for listening, and hopefully there's something different tomorrow and weeks and weeks coming forward, and hopefully we'll get some Christmas news as well. So, alrighty, thanks all. Take care. All right.
Good night.
Thank you.